This is gonna be the future of PC building, you guys. Hidden connectors on motherboards that provide a clean, minimalistic, and a wireless look. Aorus actually came out with this concept first back in May of 2022 for the Z690 platform. And since then, we haven't really seen any other stealth products up until now. Introducing the X870 Aorus Stealth Ice motherboard and the Aorus RTX 5090 Stealth Ice to go along with it. I'm going to be building a gorgeous all-white stealth minimalistic gaming PC. So sit back and relax and let's get started. Working with AI can be a blessing and a curse. I mean, it helps you throughout mundane tasks, but there are so many models now that you don't know which one to use anymore. Why can't we just have them all in one place? Well, now you can, thanks to Chat LLM Teams from Abacus AI. It's your all-in-one command center, giving you access to all the popular models from OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and many more in a single window. You just need to type your prompt once, and the built-in Route LLM will automatically grab the model that answers best. So that way you don't have to play pinball on your browser. And it's not just text-based models. The same goes for AI image and video generation. And all of that for only $10 a month. That's way cheaper than even a single subscription on any of those platforms. All the features you'd wish for, like talking to your PDF documents, coding, research, are all packed into this one single hub. All that horsepower for only $10 a month is an absolute steal. So click my link in the description section or my pinned comment to check it out. All right, CPU of choice is the Ryzen 9 9950X 3D processor, which is still the best gaming chip on the market. And since we're tossing in an RTX 5090, it just makes sense to build a maxed out system. For the motherboard, we're going with the brand new X870 Aorus Stealth Ice. Now, I was already in love with the Ice series from Aorus, but this one here takes it to the next level. And let me show you guys why. No connectors whatsoever in the front. No 8-pin, no 24-pin, not even the SATA or the front panel connectors. Like everything is in the back. Another benefit of having all the connectors in the back, other than the obvious cleaner look in the front, is that you get more space for VRM coverage. If you look closely, we have a much longer VRM heatsink going across the top where the 8-pin EPS connectors would otherwise be. And that obviously translates to better cooling. Now, Aorus isn't the only manufacturer that does hidden connectors on their motherboard. I'm sure you guys have heard of other manufacturers like Asus, which have their own version called BTF or Back to Future, which I've done a really cool water-cooled BTF build on the channel if you guys want to check that out. And then you got MSI with their Project Zero. And then you got ASRock with their BMD, which stands for Back Mount Design. This was actually announced earlier this year at CES, but since then we haven't seen or heard any other news with their back connect motherboards. All right, now for memory, we're gonna be tossing in a G-Skill. Now for memory, we're gonna be tossing in a G-Skill Trident Z Royale kit because lately these Royale sticks have been growing on me. And I feel like Chrome is the next best option right next to white. It's not really gonna throw off the color scheme as much, and it's gonna add a bit of a reflective or mirror look, which I really like, especially with the RGB lights on. So we're gonna be tossing a 48GB kit with 8,000 megatransfers and CL40. And the reason why we're going with such fast sticks is because the motherboard is supposed to be able to handle it, because this board can support up to 8,400 megatransfers. So we're gonna be putting it to the ultimate test and see if we can enable XMP once the installation's done. You can't go wrong. I mean, come on, you gotta agree with me, you guys. That looks so good. That looks so good. As far as storage,
they ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
As far as storage, I do have a 4TB Gen 5 M.2 SSD in the office, which has my operating system as well as all the games installed already. So I'm just gonna pop this in so we can quickly get into the desktop and play some games. This is, after all, a showpiece build, so it just doesn't make sense putting in a new drive and doing the installation process all over again. One thing you do have to be mindful of while installing on a back connect motherboard is to prevent the pins in the back from getting damaged. No kidding. As I say that, I noticed one of the pins slightly bent for the RGB headers. Ideally, you want to avoid putting this on a hard surface like the table. If you can find something that's cushiony, maybe like a mouse pad or something, that will be the next best option. But I figured the motherboard box would be the next best option, but apparently not, because I've slightly bent the pins. Probably when I was applying force on the memory sticks, because it's really close to the pin over here. So anyways, what I'm trying to say here is be very, very careful when installing on a back connect motherboard. Luckily, this should be an easy fix. Just gotta bend it back. Good as new. Speaking of storage and installation, another really cool feature with this motherboard is that it comes with Wi-Fi drivers pre-installed already. And this is very convenient, especially if you're building a brand new system. You don't have to go out there, find a different PC, download the drivers on a USB stick, and then bring it back. You can just connect to the internet while you're installing the drivers or while you're on the desktop, which is very cool. Okay, so the case we're building inside of is the C500 Panoramic Stealth ICE, which was specifically designed to work with the Stealth series, also for most compatible back connector motherboards. There's nothing really new or exciting about this case whatsoever. I mean, it's your traditional single chamber fish tank design case. It comes with triple reverse blade 120mm intake fans on the side and a single 120 RGB exhaust fan in the back. I much prefer a dual chamber fish tank case because at least that way the power supply is hidden towards the back. But now you have this awkward power supply shroud that's in the front of the case, and personally to me it's just an eyesore. But I'm not reviewing the case, obviously we're building in it, so let's just get on with it. Okay, so the motherboard is pretty much ready to be popped inside the case, but we still have to prep the socket for the cooler installation. And since we're playing with mostly new parts, I figured why not stick to the trend and install a new cooler that I've never featured on the channel before. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure you guys are tired of seeing the same components recycled, reinstalled every single time. So this is actually the first time I am featuring this cooler on the channel. This is the Tacoma's LX800 Pro 360. It's a 360mm AIO with an LCD screen. However, this one is a little different compared to the other AIOs with an LCD screen, and I'll show you guys what I mean in a sec. But first, let's unbox this bad boy. Ooh, the box is actually pretty fancy. Check this out. Power up to gamers. That is a interesting motto. Ooh, that opens up pretty nice actually. Tacoma's. Kind of sounds like Toyota Tacoma. Okay, so here's the AIO itself. Wait, where are the fans? Oh, there's another layer down there. Whoops. There it is. So these are actually non-RGB fans, but they connect together similar to the Lee & Lee uni fans. Oh, and they're magnetic. So it snaps in like that. Very cool. I'm kind of digging the brushed aluminum accent over here on the side. It makes it stand out from all the other fans that we see on the market. But let's go and put this aside. So in this box is where the pump cover or LCD screen is. And we've seen a similar design like this in a previous build I've done on the channel from the, I believe the Sudoku coolers, where the pump cover is completely separate from the cooler. Now here's the most interesting thing about the cooler, in my opinion, the main reason why it kind of stands out compared to the rest. The pump cover actually has two screens. So in the front you have your 2.8-inch circular IPS display with a 480 by 480 resolution, which you can obviously customize with like hardware info and custom GIFs and stuff. But on the side, you have a secondary 1.44-inch LCD display as well with a 128 by 128 resolution. But the only thing you can display on here are either time stats or static branding. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, that's not what I expected at all. You would think a case that's designed to work with the Stealth motherboard wouldn't give you any issues, but apparently the standoffs do not align with the holes on the motherboard. That is weird. The middle right is off by a little bit, the top right corner is off by a little bit, and so is the one on the left of that. So 3 of the holes don't exactly line up, which can definitely be a problem. Yeah, I'm gonna have to like push the motherboard towards the IO cover while I screw it down. So I have no choice. The standoff's in the right spot. I mean, either this case is a defect or something else is going on. Yeah, look at that. That's crazy. Well, I guess there's nothing I can do. Let's just hook it up for now. All right, cooler's installed, looks pretty good. There is something I want to talk about, but first thing I want to say is that I do appreciate the fact that they gave us braided cables for the pump cable as well as the fan cables. It's different than what I'm normally used to, so it's nice. It's just a nice change, I guess. But with that said, they do include these cable clips on the tubes itself, which I'm guessing are meant to be used to route those cables, which I've already routed towards the top. But the downside is they're kind of permanently attached. As you can see, there's no way to unclip these. And because of that, it's kind of an eyesore, unfortunately. The only thing I can do is probably just tuck them away to one side of the cooler. That side's gonna be noticeable, but also this side's gonna be noticeable because we have clear glass panels on the side. So unfortunately, yeah, this is not really a great design choice. Although I do appreciate the good intention behind it, these should have been removable to solve that problem. But anyways, not a huge deal, just something I wanted to point out. So to keep the tradition of using new components in the build, we're gonna go with a Seasonic power supply, specifically the Focus GX1000, which is a beautiful all-white, fully modular, gold certified power supply. And I don't think I've actually used a Seasonic power supply on the channel in over 5 years. So we're finally gonna break the streak. Oh, Seasonic, you guys are awesome. A white power cable, thank you. Someone knows what they're doing.
What did he say?
Okay, the PC is coming together very nicely if I say so myself, but there is one thing left to do, and that is to plug in the graphics card. But this is not your average graphics card. This here is the Aorus Master RTX 5090 Stealth Ice. Emphasis on the stealth, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean by that. So this card has the exact same design as the original Master, except the fact that it does not have a 12VH power connector in the front. And instead, they moved it towards the back, so it's kind of hidden. And there's even a cutout over here towards the back where you can route the 12VH power cable in and then run the other end through the case, giving it a stealthy look, hence why it's called Stealth. So yeah, with that said, let's plug it in and see how it looks. Okay, PC is complete. It came out looking great. However, I do have some mixed feelings. First and foremost, my doo-doo brain installed the cooler the wrong way. The pump was upside down, so I went ahead and flipped it right side up, and it actually cleaned up the tube path quite a bit. And now we can actually see the side display clearly. So don't make the same mistake I did. Make sure the tubes are facing the bottom. Temps-wise, the LX800 cooler does a really good job in keeping the temps down. Like a really, really good job. The 9950X3D peaked at only 62 degrees while averaging a 5.5 GHz clock speed the entire time while I was gaming in 1440p epic settings. That's impressive. Now the fan noise did ramp up slightly, but it wasn't as loud compared to other AIOs I've used in the past. If you game with headphones on, you most likely won't even hear the fan noise. The GPU also stayed very cool with peak temps of 64C. Overall, very impressive temps inside the C500 Panoramic Stealth Ice case. Now in terms of what you can actually do with the screens, I was pleasantly surprised with the level of customization that Tacoma's software offers. First and foremost, their default animations are already 1,000 times better than the competition. My personal favorite, however, is this one's a little spicy, maybe a little too spicy. But obviously you can always upload your own images or GIFs if you like, and you can also pick from any hardware information on the left side. So for example, if you wanted to cycle between your CPU and GPU temps, you can select both. You can select all 9 sensors, or you can just choose to disable everything if you want to just look at the animation. There's also a weather skin that shows your city's temperature along with wind, moisture, and other useful information. Or you can set a clock and pick from a bunch of different themes, which is pretty neat. But my second favorite would be the carousel. Here you can pick from a few different sensor panels, but the cool thing about this section is that you can customize the colors so it matches your PC's color scheme. Pretty cool. The only thing I didn't like about the cooler is the side display. You can't change it. The only thing it shows is the brand's name and the current temperature of the liquid, which I think is pretty useless. If they gave us the option to add our own image, a GIF, or even just like a simple sensor panel, it would have been more useful, but as it stands, it's completely pointless, and I'd much rather have no side display and have a slightly lower price on the cooler itself, but that's just my opinion. But overall, I would say I'm very satisfied with the cooler, and I would recommend this for anyone that wants to build a PC that stands out from the crowd. Now let's talk about the Stealth motherboard, okay? I was shocked, just simply shocked that I was able to achieve the full 8,000 mega transfers on the memory overclock. It was as easy as going into the BIOS and enabling XMP. The PC booted into Windows without any issues, and the system was stable during my testing at 8,000 mega transfers per second. So hats off to Aorus. Now here's what I didn't quite like, and I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here, so apologies in advance. But to my understanding, the back connector design, or in this case, the Stealth design, is to achieve a minimalistic or wireless look. But when you see the cables through the back of the case and through the power supply shroud, I feel like it just kind of ruins the illusion. I'm not even talking about the fact that you can see the cables from the AIO. Let's put that aside for a second and just talk about the cables in the back of the case. Since the case supports both back connector motherboards and regular motherboards, the cutouts are still there, whether you use them or not. And the downside to that is you can see whatever is behind it. So what's the point of the whole Stealth design? The only benefit I see is the convenience of plugging in the cables. I didn't have to constantly rotate the case while I plug in all the cables. It saved me a ton of time and prevented shoulder pain. Fortunately, there is a very simple fix to this. If Aorus provided any type of cover or even cable grommets that came with the case, I could have easily covered up all the holes, achieving the clean wireless look. But either way, I feel like the whole wireless aesthetic is personal preference. I've said this in the past. Cables inside of a PC give your system character. It gives the PC a personality and unlocks another level of customization. So I don't really think cables will be replaced anytime soon. I think the back connector design is a nice addition to PC building and offers more options for us gamers to choose from, which is always nice. And I'm very excited to see what the next step is. Personally, for me, I much rather see the back connect ecosystem spill into like the custom water cooling scene. I think we could do some pretty cool and minimalistic water cool builds, but We'll have to wait and see if that even happens. But anyways, links below to everything I use in the PC. Subscribe for more awesome PC builds coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next one.